Hello and welcome to you. I am Golda Lee Bruce. I am a development storyteller and communications coordinator in the Caribbean Country Department of the Inter-American Development Bank. And joining me for a really interesting conversation today is Paola Holst. Paola is a senior HR business partner here at the Inter-American Development Bank, working out of our office in Jamaica. So welcome, Paola.
Thank you very much, Golda.
We're going to be talking about our talent in the Caribbean. We have an audience who is watching, interested in learning more about our work and how they can be involved and maybe even join us in our task of developing lives and improving lives in the Caribbean. So, Paola, let's start with a big question, and a question that you and I are asked quite a bit, right? What exactly does the IDB do?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, there's a short answer and a long answer for that. The short one is we lend money to governments to improve people's lives. The long answer is that we strive to create sustainable and vibrant economies where people can be happy and safe and productive. And this, of course, is manifested in our loans to governments and to the private sector. And over the 5 decades that we have been in the Caribbean, we have lent money for different projects. I mean, schools, education, hospitals, roads, skilling of Caribbean people, you name it. We have all sorts of projects in our country offices.
So many of the people who are looking on right now have IDB offices in their countries. They may see the IDB sign on different projects. There's a sort of brand awareness. But can you tell us a little bit more about the different categories of workers within the IDB? Some are staff, some are interns. What are the roles? What are the key roles?
Yeah, I'll tell you first about our country offices because I believe it's one of the stronger points we have is our field presence. We have offices in 26 of our borrowing countries, Latin America and Caribbean. We have offices in Europe, we have office in Japan, and of course we have headquarters. So we have a very strong field presence. In terms of our employment opportunities and different categories or modalities of employment, I always tell people that there's not one point of entry. There are several points of entry. You have the internship program, you have the consultant modality, and then you have the staff modality. The internship program is very interesting, and we have it for students that are graduating or have recently graduated, and we have it in headquarters in the summer and in the winter. We have it in our country offices, and the link will be provided by the team in the comments section with all the requirements. But the country office internship program has one of the requirements is that you are a national of that country office, and it's on a rolling basis. Contract modalities of consultants are more product specific, very expert advice, and then you have the staff modality. And just to tell you a little bit about me, I joined the bank 22 years ago. Don't tell anybody. 22 years ago. I started as a summer intern. And then I was a consultant for a number of years, and then after a period of time, a position opened. I had been the incumbent doing that, internal, external competitive process, and then I won that position. So I always tell people, do not look at one modality, look at several, and there's a road and different points of entry. Most of our hires come from the pool of consultants.
Before I ask you another question, I just want to remind those of you who are watching that you can ask us your questions as well. We want this to be a fully engaging conversation. So please send us your questions. We'll ask them to Paola, see if we get some answers. And even if we aren't able to answer your questions in this live event, we'll try to get you the answers later. So Paola, sometimes we see positions available, they're posted, right? And you think, should I really apply to this position? Because, you know, is it really open to me, or has it been posted for some routine reason? Do I really have a shot?
Absolutely, please apply. We are promoting Caribbean talent. We want to hire Caribbean talent. We want to promote Caribbean nationals within the institution, not only in our Caribbean offices, but in headquarters. So, and most people are wondering why Caribbean nationals? And we need the creativity, the innovation, the passion, the enthusiasm that Caribbean nationals can bring to the IDB. So please apply, absolutely.
So I've made the decision, and I'm going to take a chance and apply. I'm going to throw my hat into the ring, so to speak. What are you looking for in my resume, for example? what should I put in there? Because, you know, sometimes culturally there are things in your resume like marital status or hobbies, and you really never know what you should put in there to give a complete picture of yourself. So your expert advice for those thinking of applying?
That's a very, very good question, because I get that a lot in my role. And I always tell people, tailor your resume to the position that you're applying for. Even if the position is generic, like an internship program, look at the keywords that the employer, the IDB, is looking for, and then tailor that resume. And think of it as the MasterCard sign, right? So you have on one side what you bring to the table, this is who you are, and then on the other side what the IDB is looking for. And the only thing that matters is where those two intersect. So highlight what you bring that the IDB is looking for, and don't add information that is just dry ink, taking space on the paper. It's really not relevant, your marital status, to the application for the internship program. Really focus and tailor your application to the job that you're applying for. And that may mean having several versions of that resume according to where you're applying for.
Now, as people internal to the IDB, you and I understand that this is a bank serving Latin America and the Caribbean. As Caribbean people, sometimes we perceive, and I was one of those people, I was guilty of this, perceiving this bank as being a Latin American bank and not a bank for Latin America and the Caribbean. Well, obviously, since I've joined, I now see that it's completely different, and we are very Caribbean as well. But for people who may not have that internal perspective, people who are thinking about applying, how can we assure them that they will be included? How do they know that there is a place here in the IDB for Caribbean people like themselves?
Thank you. That's, I mean, I think the best way, one of the biggest things for, that the IDB does is it has a wide variety of nationalities, 48 nationalities represented, 4 languages, different country offices, and its strength is in diversity. And I can tell you this, but I can also share with you how I feel every time I walk into a meeting room in Jamaica and I look different than everybody else in that room. You know, it's happened sometimes, and I always feel included. So there's a component of diversity. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, but I always feel included, I feel heard. So I would tell everybody, the bank is not only Latin, the bank is Latin American and Caribbean. So it's very much Caribbean.
And if I may take the liberty of sharing as well, my own personal experience, which was that, you know, I came on board as a consultant 1.5 years ago, fully pregnant. And I was really nervous about joining a new institution in a new country with my big belly. And I have to say that I was completely included, not just by my team, but by the entire bank, and somewhat celebrated as well. And that helped to make me feel a lot more comfortable. Now let's talk about something else that I know is going to be a big question for the Caribbean audience, Spanish language. Mm-hmm. How important is it to work in this organization?
So it is important, but our language requirement is waived for the Caribbean. We want to attract Caribbean talent. We want it in the institution. And we want people that are willing to learn. We want people that are already learning. If your Spanish is not up to proficiency level, it's okay. The bank and the Caribbean department invests a lot of resources for consultants and for staff in Spanish acquisition and language acquisition in general. So don't be afraid. Start studying. It's never late to start. Start and join us and continue learning.
So Paola, I'm going to put you on the spot and have you answer a couple of the questions from our viewers online. And Emilio, we'll start with you. He's asking, what types of profiles are you looking for? What types of profiles is the IDB looking for?
Well, thank you, Emilio, for that question. Very wide array of profiles. It just absolutely depends on the position that you're applying for. So it can be an economist, it can be education specialist, it can be a lawyer, it can be a communication specialist. I mean, it depends on the wide array of positions that we have posted, that we often post, and positions can be staff or consultants, as we discussed before.
You know, when I first came to the bank, I wondered if there would be a place for me to use some of the skills that I had acquired as a news presenter. And now here I am.
Look at you.
talking to you. So
look at me. I am a lawyer by training, and I ended up doing human resources.
Yeah.
So you just never know.
You really never know, and there's really a wide array of things that you can do. So Jamila asks, we want to apply, but we always feel like the positions are out of reach. This is a legitimate concern that we maybe touched on a little bit before. What would you say to Jamila?
Jamila, thank you for that question. I think that the bank, because it's a big organization, it looks intimidating, but continue to apply. Not always are you going to get it like the first time or maybe the next 5 times. If you don't get selected and you want to have information about why and not, probably they're going to tell you you were not selected. If you want information about the outcome of the competitive process or the consultancy hiring process, write to the HR Service Center. The address is hrsc@iadb.org, hrsc@iadb.org, and continue to present your enthusiasm and continue to apply. The bank is real. We're made of real people. We are looking for professionals, but we want talent. So please continue to apply.
And some others are asking about the specifications for being hired. Are there any particular criteria that we must meet?
Yes. Yeah. So, for example, you have to be a national of our member countries. So you have to be a national of a member country, and you cannot have family working at the IDB. In family, up to the 4th degree of consanguinity and the 2nd degree of affinity. So you cannot have a spouse, you cannot have a cousin, you cannot have a parent. But other than that, it's all qualification based.
Tell us a little bit more about the internship program. Are there any stipulations in terms of who can become an intern and when?
Okay, so I actually don't have that information, but I will ask my team to please post all the requirements. We have different requirements, age requirements, and education requirements. So we're going to post those on the link. But the country office internship programs are on an ongoing basis. If anybody's interested, we'll have all the details on the link.
And what advice would you give as someone who's worked in this organization now for 22 years? What advice would you give, don't look it, to someone who's thinking about applying, who has a lot more information because of our conversation today, but may be a little bit apprehensive? What's that one thing that you would say to them to really get them going?
So have a broad view. Look at the bank, not only those positions that you're interested in, but look at the bank holistically. We have professionals that are curators, we have communicators, we have psychologists, we have human resources specialists. There is not one profession. Look at the bank holistically. I've had people that work in theater helping endangered youth programs, and they have joined the bank to improve lives. So it's a complete development institution. We're looking for passionate individuals. Don't be afraid and bring your passion on.
And what would you say, Paola, in your experience has been the highlight of working in this institution?
For me, I think that working in the Caribbean has given me such a wonderful opportunity to be close to community, to see the impact of what we do. Being in a country office like the country office in Jamaica makes me happy to go to work every day, and it's been the highlight of my career.
Well, thank you so much, Paola, and thank you so much to our audience that has been watching. We want to remind you that if you have any questions that you would like to ask us, please feel free to do so in the comments. And as I said before, if there isn't sufficient time in this live event to ask those questions, we'll try to get you some answers later on. So if there isn't much left to say, I'll leave closing remarks for you, Paola, just to encourage our listeners and our viewers to apply to positions within the bank.
I think we'll be sharing the links for the career opportunities. Also, take a look at the job alerts. If you don't see an opportunity posted right now, you can highlight those areas that are of interest, and don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms.
And as Paola said, I'm going to echo that now. We're going to be posting quite a few links for you, including our jobs website, rules on internships, and all of the information that you need in order to join us here and to be more involved in the work of the Inter-American Development Bank in the Caribbean region. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paola.